Folks, welcome back to the show. I'm Craig Shelton. This is UTN 43.8. Right now, just hanging out, we're going to go to part 2 of my conversation with Kim Davis and Stephanie Stradley. Folks, strap in. This is a good one.
You could hear Kubiak talking about knocking the rust off, and you could see it with your eyes too. This camp, he's looking much better, but I can tell you the best thing for Texan fans to look at is that J.J. Watt has been approaching camp like it's December.
His rookie year.
Yeah, and something that's going to be something that fans should look for in real games, that is something that's not a stat, but you see it with your eyes when you're watching the games, is, yeah, he gets sacks, yeah, he gets batted down passes, but how many times does he jump up, put his hands up, and disrupts the play? There was a couple of times in the practice, I guess it was yesterday, where he threw off a timing throw to Keyshawn Martin that Schaub couldn't throw the ball out when he wanted to throw it out, or just where Schaub had to just hold the ball because it would have been batted down had he thrown it into that particular lane. And Watt has kind of a knack for seeing when the ball's going to be released. He has a very great situational awareness, and Wade Phillips lets him work with that.
And we'll close with this. Kim, Stephanie gave a good description of where we are with the quarterbacks in regard to how they fared in camp, and that's good analysis. But let's look ahead a little bit, and if we find ourselves into the regular season, in my opinion, I think that this year would not be a good year for Matt Schaub if he's not playing well. I think that this town is going to be really, really hard on him, whether fair or not. It goes with the territory. Based on what you've seen, Kim, from last season, and what Stephanie's saying about camp now, what is that expectation, and just your thoughts in general when we get to the regular season with Matt Schaub?
So I agree with Stephanie on the fact that the rust isn't here that was here this time last year with him at camp. I am probably not as optimistic about what I see from him because there are things that you just can't really see yet. His issue is really going to be about game performance. And so there's that thing that, it doesn't come up in the stats and that kind of stuff. We talk about that confidence, right? In terms of, does he have that thing that when the team needs it, he can take them to the next level? And you talk about confidence, being where, it's demonstrated ability. And so for me to answer your question, I've not seen that yet from him. And so I'm cautiously optimistic or concerned. I think it doesn't mean this team can't have some success, but for him it's about game situation to really be able to tell how they're going to fare. And it's game situations where there's pressure with an opposing quarterback who is substantive. That's when I can, for me, give a better sense of what I think is going to be. I don't think that people have lofty expectations about Matt Schaub because of what they've seen previously. I think they're very optimistic. Fans are about this team in this football season. How can you not be? But just winning the AFC South again is not enough, and that's not going to be a cakewalk because, the Colts is going to be a much better team, and it's not a given. Mm-hmm. So, but that I think for Texans fans is not going to be enough. So the expectations are a little bit further. I mean, they love Super Bowl, but can you get to a championship? AFC championship at minimum. And I think the fans are. This is a football state, a football town, and they're excited. I mean, they're out here on Friday morning in the heat, so they want to see them do well. But I don't think the expectations are real high. I think that people are hopeful, but we'll see.
There's a definite difference between hopeful and expectations. Here's my thing with Matt Schaub. I think how dare I have the audacity to compare Matt Schaub's state with this city to one of Les Stargene, but I will. Hear me out. Stephanie is ready to dig into me with those lawyer claws. No, I said in these terms. I don't think Les Stargene has a lot to prove in training camp. I don't care what he does in training camp. It's not going to matter a lot to people. Right. It's what he does in the regular season. And I think, we ask the questions because that's kind of what we do, right, doing what we do in the media. But regardless of what we think the final resume will be on Matt Schaub, we can all agree we don't put too much into what he does out here. We just want to see him healthy out here. Yeah. with him, it's like Gene. It's what Matt does when it really matters in the regular season. We know he can play football. We know he's better than any quarterback in camp. It's what he does. But with Matt Sharp, the progression is even greater because it don't matter too much about the regular season even with him. It's what he does in the playoffs when it matters to get this team to the next level. Matt is not young enough and he's not old enough that we're concerned with what he can. He's at that middle ground and where, dude, it's all about winning on the highest level. Are we in agreement there?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's always wait and see with any quarterback. What have you done for me lately? You know,
unless you've done a lot for you lately.
Exactly.
Like
okay, so
Tom Brady.
So Tom Brady,
guys, you know.
Tom Brady gets a pass. Maybe Peyton Manning gets a pass. Not too many people get a pass. Even Joe Flacco. This might surprise people. Joe Flacco had a significantly worse season than Matt Schaub did last year. And Matt Schaub, and this is something that a lot of fans don't realize if you just break down the metrics. Last year wasn't same old Schaub. His numbers at the end of the season were by far the worst numbers he's ever had since he's been at the Texans, even before he knew the playbook.
Why was it?
Well, if anybody knew those answers, they're not talking about them. And I have a blog post where I try to break down some of the reasons why it could be. But whatever happened in 2012 is 2012. This is 2013. And I think the narrative of Matt Schaub is the narrative of a lot of quarterbacks that haven't won the big game or haven't really had that many opportunities in the playoffs.
And define that narrative.
The narrative is the Joe Flacco narrative, which is he went to the playoffs a number of times and he was considered the weakest link. You know, it was the defense that did it. It was Ray Rice that did it until he finally broke through and did it. And you know, there's been so few really relevant seasons of the Texans because so many years before Wade Phillips, the defense didn't have a real chance. Like maybe they could have eked into the playoffs, but they wouldn't have been a legitimate team because those defenses were so terrible. Once Wade Phillips came to the team, you could win games in multiple different ways. You could win it with defense. You could win it on the offense. You could, you know, have a shootout. You could win a low-scoring game. So they have the pieces in place, and with a very short season, you only have 16 games. It's not like basketball. It's not like baseball. So there's a lot of luck involved with any individual game, and the best teams take the luck component out of it, and they blow out bad teams, and they're always, you know, every week you don't know whether they're going to win or lose against the good teams. And that's what any team aspires to. But he really hasn't had that many opportunities to shine in the playoffs because he wasn't a part of the 2011 team. And the 2012 team, to be honest, didn't do him any favors. If you don't have, let's say, Tom Brady, what do? You put parts around him. And for so many years, they were putting all the parts on the defensive side of the ball because why? The defense stunk.
Right. You mean,
so finally, this year, they've gotten DeAndre Hopkins. They have some of the pieces that they got in place from the offensive line and are trying to develop that. But you're not doing your quarterback any favors when you have two positions, sometimes three positions on the offensive line rotating. You don't have another wide receiver on the other side.
But isn't that what I think I know what you were going to say? But isn't that what makes the argument for the folks that don't have as much confidence as some others in Matt is that you have to be so perfect around him everywhere else, and if you're not, he doesn't have those attributes to compensate. Is that kind of where you were going?
That is where I was going. And I'm also going to say playoffs matter, but there are, to me, it seems like watching him line up, and it seems kind of an odd thing to observe, but when he has lined up, let's look at last season, regular season, across quarterbacks, you know, who are of the top level, the top tier quarterbacks in the league, he becomes somewhat of a shrinking violet. He's not on the same field with. Well, that was
what was that? Not
against.
Well, no.
That was also an early.
Come in, ladies. Let's talk about
that. That was an early Peyton Manning. I think the Broncos that the Texans faced early is not the same
Matt
Broncos.
Schaub had 4 touchdowns that game.
Listen, Matt Schaub had some great numbers, and here's my point. My point is this. No. Let me finish. Let me finish.
So you can't blow that off.
I'm not blowing it off. My point is this. Numbers don't always really matter. This, you know, we look at quarterback ratings sometimes, we look at stats, and we talk about that, and that's easy to check it off. But the things that make you win ball games, obviously, whoever has the most points wins at the end. So I'm not knocking him, but I am saying that there are some regular season performances. Peyton Manning, that was almost a perfect Texans game. He didn't win it by himself. He had
that's
some help.
true.
But in other games, a Packers game, they were awful. They didn't play well. I mean, Patriots.
Well,
it wasn't just
were bad too.
Yeah, I'm saying that there are a lot of times. But here's the thing:
the defense didn't finish last year.
The defense didn't finish. But there are games. Those are times when these top tier quarterbacks, which I don't think he's one of, sometimes make the difference. They can make the difference. Now, granted, the Texans have a much better defense if they're all playing well. Arian's healthy. Now you got more weapons on offense. All those things working. I think be a different scenario.
I think for any team, it's about health. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And what happened to this Texans team, I think, is they got really unhealthy at the wrong time. If you look at the injury list that happened after the Detroit game, where they played all those games all in a row, the injury list was huge. And some of the unsung things that weren't talked about enough, I think, was the injuries to the tight end position. At the beginning of the year, they had 3 tight ends in the top 15 in efficiency in the NFL. And that's unheard of, because that was the strength of that team. You had experience at that position. You didn't have it at the wide receiver, so why not use that? Yeah. But unfortunately, at a very key time at this season, Garrett Graham had his concussion right before the Patriots game. So when they're running multiple tight end sets, they had to run out an offensive lineman, which nobody thinks is going to be able to, catch the ball. They got really hurt at the end of the season. And on the contrary, the Ravens, they were lucky to make it into the playoffs. They were not the best team over the course of the
But then when they got in the playoffs, they hit their stride.
They got their key defensive players in good spots, and they had all sorts of unbelievable luck. I mean, the way that the Ravens offense is structured is they can look terrible, and Flacco
but they also had Flacco step up and make some plays when it mattered.
Well, no, there was
there was a lot going on, and there's been a lot going on for that team for a long time. Joe Flacco in the playoffs last year is not the Joe Flacco that I've ever seen before.
Part of that is their offense is a slot machine.
Right.
You hit it or you don't hit it. The way that they won that Denver game, they had that was a good throw, and Jacoby caught it, which was a big thing. But there was a lot of different things that happened that play that just inch here, inch there, that game could have gone the whole way. And that's just the NFL.
That is the NFL.
That same play, is Matt Schaub capable of making that play?
Oh, yeah. He's made that play. I can tell you all sorts of times in the past where he's made that play, but can he make that play
in that circumstance?
And he just hasn't had that many opportunities. So when we talk about what kind of player he is in that circumstance, it's one of the problems is it's a super small sample size. He just
in regard to
been
playoffs, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree. In regard to the playoff, it has been a small sample size. But let me define the play I'm talking about. Is the play in the Super Bowl that he made to Jacoby Jones. Okay. See, here's why I don't think Matt Schaub can make that play. It's because Flacco had to use his feet laterally in a manner that I don't think Matt Schaub makes that play.
Actually, Joe Flacco's
and the arm. Let me. No, you're making my argument. I don't think his footwork is all that great. We know that that's not who he is, but we can also agree that Matt Schaub has even less mobility than Joe Flacco, and I think that's pretty fair.
Within the phone
and then does Schaub have the arm to get that ball down the field the way he did?
It would surprise a lot of people, but actually, if you're looking at deep passes, there's not that many.
No, I know what you're going to tell me, but I'm talking about that particular play because it was under duress.
I understand.
It was at such a critical moment.
I understand.
Because here's the deal. I think there are people out there that understand Matt Schaub via the statistics and buy into that. And even though they don't buy into it, you have to accept it because they're there. You can't take away what he's done. But then there's always until he changes it, there's always going to be a thought process out there with folks where when it gets clutch,
matter what we think.
It's clutch. Does he have that clutch gene? And I think a lot of folks just don't believe he has a clutch gene. I don't believe he has a clutch gene.
Actually,
but I don't think he's a horrible quarterback. I just think it's just what expectations. Mark Vandermeer made a great point on Texans All Access, where he talked about folks that just say Matt's horrible, can't do anything, basically that they're idiots, and Morgan and I've had that conversation before, and I was like, it's really all about expectation. If your only expectation is the Super Bowl, and you believe that Matt can't get you a Super Bowl, then to you, he sucks, But by reasonable expectations, when you look at a person's entire body of work, Matt Shaw's been a very good NFL quarterback. I believe you can win a Super Bowl with Matt Schaub. I honestly believe that. I don't think Matt Schaub leads you to a Super Bowl, but I think you can win a Super Bowl with him. But I think you have to be really exceptional in most everywhere else, and it kind of has to be your year. It has to kind of be your time. You got to get some breaks. Things got to roll right, and guess what? Everybody who's ever won that Super Bowl, some things went their way. And the Ravens are an excellent example because the beginning of last year, we all saw Joe Flacco in the same light. During the season, we saw Flacco miss intermediate pass routes or wheel routes with Ray Rice wide open out of the backfield, and we saw him not make those throws. So, hey, where else can you get this other than the middle of Texas training camp? Get these two ladies going at it like this. Great job. Kim, I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Stephanie, I appreciate you. Tell folks where to find you at, Kim.
You can find me on Twitter at Kim Y. Davis, and I do these segments, Chalk Talk segments on Fox. We haven't started yet for this season, and I will kicking off a blog talk show in a week, and doing some writing for Houston Style, and my website is kimydavis.com.
Folks, make sure you keep up with what's going on with Kim, and you can always check into HoustonMediaWatch.com, and we'll put you up on what's happening. Stephanie, tell everyone where they can find you at.
It's at Steph Stradley on Twitter, and it's Steph with a PH. Stradley is Stradley. You can find me at the Houston Chronicle at the Ultimate Texans site. You can either click on my name or find it under Voices. And then I have my own personal site that if you type in StephStradley.com or StephanieStradley.com, you will find it. It'll take you there.
Now, let me warn you. If you're in the mindset that you didn't agree with something that either one of these ladies said today, I'm going to tell you now, if you look them up, you better have your stuff together, because Stephanie will tell you in a minute, you're not going to win a debate with me. She'll just let you know it's not going to happen. I appreciate you ladies. Great job, and we'll have to do it again.
Anytime.
Definitely appreciate it. It's Craig Shelton. I'm going to go ahead and check out right now. Well, folks, that's it for this week on The Cut. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to say thanks to Angelo Lawford of HMW, Richard Walker of HMW. Go check out that blog, folks. We're over 1 million hits, so we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. That's HoustonMediaWatch.com. Make sure you get out there and follow us on the social media. You can see the Facebook and Twitter handles. We love to talk to you. Hey, we'll be out there with the Texans getting more stuff for you. So that'll do it, and we'll see you next week.